every day it pours. You gotta pause and savor the flavor, the wet concrete under your feet. Hailstorm sleep, can't afford to conform or go to sleep. Stay awake to the ways of the world, don't be a sheep. It would be easy to turn a blind eye at state affairs or get revenge. An eye for an eye and we all go blind in the end. Be the eye of the storm, transform the norm and be what you're born to be. Recognize the deity in yourself and others. Real recognize real and you don't look familiar, brother. The world's a cage and we zoo animals on the stage of life. Keys to the gate come with a silver spoon or something you create. Unlock the code and hack into the power of 1,000 old souls. Reach up, reach up, reach up to the sky. Hold your head high, it's life or living death. We gotta try to live our best until the time comes around. We cannot rest. Reach up, reach up, reach up to the sky. Hold your head high, it's life or living death. We gotta try to live our best until the time comes around. We cannot rest. We live for the dead and unborn. We're all chosen sons and daughters, uninformed of the greatness within. We've been given gifts and talents that we squander and wonder how it got like this. Living with the essence, circadian rhythms. Your guardian angel, honor your light and give them birthright. It's worth the fight, enhance the dance with nature's earthly delights. Do more than survive, we're not making it out alive. So take what's useful and put it into practice. Don't settle for less, have higher expectations for yourself and those around.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, I'm so excited. So I remember we trained together
Yeah, absolutely.
for Shifu Yande's
The first Qigong.
the
training
Bird
course.
1G. Yes,
How long
yes.
ago was that now? Like 2 years ago?
Yes.
Wow.
And I remember when we did the practice as a group,
Yeah.
you led the very like a first person, you led us.
Yes,
And
yes,
we
yes.
were still in doubt, like what's the next form and what are we doing?
No, everyone was unsure. It's just that it needed to, like, we were all unsure. Someone just needed to take the lead, and it was like, we were about to be teachers. So it was like, it was learning how to teach.
Yeah, I clearly remembered you. You know, we had so many people in there, but you were like really like I remembered you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm so glad like we have a time to chat together like this. So thank you for joining.
Pleasure.
This is the Box of Zen podcast, and I'm a host for this interview. I have to say, I am not like a fluent English speaker,
Okay.
but I believe it's about the heart, not the language. Language is just a tool for the communication. Yes, it's important, and yes, I should make it the excuse to not to get better. But I really feel, even though with language barrier, we can communicate through our heart. So this was one of my almost dream, and I'm so glad you are my third guest. So all three guests have a connection through Shaolin. And of course, everybody has a very unique life. But when I learned about your life, you are quite interesting. Your life is quite interesting. So yes, I am playing your music right now.
Okay.
I like
That's a
this
cool one.
one. Reach up.
Reach up.
Reach
Yes.
up. So you're a musician, first of all.
Yes. One of many things.
I know. And one other thing is you are stand-up comedian. Is that true?
I do. I tried a little bit. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a stand-up comedian, but I've tried for sure.
Isn't that hard one?
Absolutely. But you know, it's something that I always wanted to do. And I had like, you know, everybody was going through lots of stuff in 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit, and I lost both my parents, like my dad
no.
first and then my mom, and it was a really tough time. not because of the pandemic, but because of their own reasons. And I wanted to turn this tragic situation, this trauma, this manure, this really shit experience into something magical. And I thought comedy and humor was the best vehicle for that. It wasn't exactly just to make jokes of what happened, but to turn the stories of my life into something where we can share and hopefully learn from as well and laugh. And the main point is just to laugh and have fun as well. And laugh at yourself, not to take yourself so seriously.
So I watched the YouTube, the one you had just in case.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I learned about you. You are Londoner, British, like you.
Yeah,
And
first generation Londoner.
uh-huh. However, you have maybe some influence from your parents. And is that okay to tell?
Absolutely.
So your mom is from Yemen, right? And
Yeah.
your dad is from
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Okay, okay. Yeah. So in the comedy, you had a stand-up comedy, and you kind of used your the unique culture you might have like a bit influenced, right? So how do you like my kids? Like two of my kids were born here in United States. And yes, maybe they have some like a cultural influence as an Asian or Japanese, but to me, they are like American.
Right.
So how do you take yourself? Like, do you have this like a border, cultural border thing? Like, do you still have a pride as a like your parents you inherited?
Yeah, so it's kind of tough as well because my parents it's good to give it background and context to my story. I guess my parents met in Singapore because my dad was born in Kashmir, lived in Pakistan, and then he was traveling like a stereotypical Pakistani traveling salesman selling carpets, and he eventually ended up in Singapore where my mum was born and raised. So her parents were immigrated from Yemen. So there's a lot of immigration in the history of the family. And then my mom followed my dad or chased my dad to London. And then they got married. And then they had 3 kids in London. And I was the youngest, my 2 older sisters. So we grew up in a very English London culture, because London is very different to England. England is very English style of British culture, but London is multicultural. You have a lot of immigrants in London. And growing up with a multicultural childhood, you know, you don't notice your own race. I didn't even think to question where I was from till about 9, 10 years old. I was like, because kids at school would ask me, so where are you from? And I was like, London. And I was like, and I'll go home and I'll say, Mom, where are we from? Because my name was different, you know, my skin was different, but I didn't realize, which was quite cool. So I never really, and then only as I got older, when you know other people start to point out that you're different, you know, I start to feel insecure about my name because it wasn't an English name. So you get a little bit of insecurity about your identity, so then you become aware of it. But I always kind of fitted in with different groups of people. I was, you know, everybody was separated. You would have like we would call them English slang, like the rude boys. We would have the nerds, the bods that really wanted to learn school. You had the sweet mates, which were different racial groups, and they would ethnically create certain tribes. And I would join all of them. I was kind of in all of them. So that kind of helped with a lot of, I guess I was a chameleon of sorts, you know, I would be able to come in and out of different groups. But I always saw myself as like a Londoner, really, for certain. And growing up, you say I'm British, not English. But ultimately, if you're educated in the English school system, you're English, really. We have strong roots because my mum would always take us back to Singapore to see her family, because her family were there. So we have strong Arab ties, and the community there is really close. My dad's family is strong Pakistanis, and they speak fluently, but I don't speak fluently either language. I could speak more Spanish than I can Arabic, you know. So I really consider myself like a child of the earth, a citizen of the world, that kind of vibe, because I didn't really fit in anywhere. So the earth became my home. The world, you know, the world became my home.
Well, that to me leads to Zen philosophy.
Yeah.
We don't have this like a clear blocks. It's like an energy and
Yes. The
yin
way
and
with no
yang
way, the
and
style with no
yeah.
style.
So what is Zen to you?
To me, it's definitely a philosophy, not even a philosophy, it's a mind state, I would say.
I agree.
Learning about it is it's like meditation in action. It's an openness, and it's an invitation to challenge yourself. You know, and it comes from a lot of different backgrounds, because I had a big influence when I was growing up of philosophy. I loved existentialism, learning about Nietzsche, and you know, because I grew up in a very religious family, so I had to find my own identity within that. And you know, because when you grow up in a religious family, religion's kind of forced on you, and you have to learn it. You have to back learn what is it to yourself. So philosophy became a good open-minded research into that. And then I became interested in psychology, such as Carl Jung, and he looks at the shadow self. And then Stoic philosophy I love from the Greeks, influenced a lot by the Romans, like Marcus Aurelius. And for me, that's Stoic and Zen and philosophy kind of merged, or very similar styles of thinking. And I love the approach, especially when you go through hardships. It's easy to beat yourself up. It's easy to get down. It's easy to get depressed. But I think the underlining philosophy is you cannot change what happens to you. You can only change how you think about what happens to you. And I think that's very, very Zen as well.
What you said, I feel like it was in Reach Up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right?
Great, because that's exactly what the song is about. Reaching up to, you know, no matter how low you go, you can always reach up higher.
So Zen philosophy, not as like a religion, but the Zen like a choice of how you live, right? Influence your music.
A lot, definitely. I think as an artist, you pick up on all your life experiences, and it comes out. You become a better artist the more life experience you have, and all of these philosophies I'm trying to combine into like an integrated character of myself. So obviously, we're all here to play roles and find our purpose and find out who we are, and that is one of the many ways to do that.
Well, I have to say, because you do like a rap music, right?
Yes.
So some of the lyrics I read would say, I don't know how to put it, like a either like a vulgar language
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's very dark.
But
Yeah.
to me, that's just a part of our life, because we can't lie. We have those, sh boo 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 thing goes on, and you are just showing like our shadow parts,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. That's the Carl Jung influence. It's integrating the shadow, understanding that we do have a dark, destructive side to our nature, but we have to overcome that as well. But the only way to overcome that is by putting that character into light. So I'm not trying to be gratuitously vulgar, but I'm trying to explore the idea that we all have that nature inside us, and if we don't embrace that, it could come and bite us in the bum in the future when we're not looking.
Yeah. And part of your life, you are into the break dance.
Break dancing, yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and
Hip hop has been a big influence.
I was so impressed that I want to share screen to show the audience. Is that okay?
Sure, of
Okay,
course.
okay, okay, okay. So share screen.
Just bust a move.
Oh my gosh. That's you?
On a mission, your wish is someone to cure your lonely
Long
time ago. In all the wrong places, no 5 girls. Your shit is to become a man to leave the situation, but every that was a long time ago.
Cool. Okay. That's so cool. And so from there to Shaolin,
Yeah.
anything like going on in your mind?
Yeah, so I think from breakdancing, we call it b-boying, is like the inner circle term. B-boying to Shaolin was a easy progression. You know, we learned a lot of our moves from the early days from watching Shaolin movies, kung fu movies.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
please
absolutely.
explain a little bit more about that, because to me, B-boy to Shaolin is a totally different animals. Even though I understood to do that break dance, you have to have all the strong joints and flexible joints. That's
Yeah.
yes, mutual with Shaolin. But you said you guys are watching Shaolin back then.
Yeah, so basically a little bit of history again, because history is good for context. The hip hop culture is kind of, it resonates with me a lot because it's a culture of immigration and oppression and rising above your surroundings and situation to better yourself. And the 4 elements of hip hop is DJing, rapping, graffiti art, and breakdance. And there's a 5th element, which is beatboxing, which is kind of like the highest form of one of the arts. It's less known as well. But again, the hip hop culture takes from all around as well. The music comes from old soul and funk breaks. And in the 70s, they used to have block parties and everyone would come together. But at this time in New York, there was lots of gang violence. So gangs would turn up and then there would be lots of fights and rivalry. And then DJs would try to stop the fights and all this kind of thing. Then DJs turned into the MCs and they were rapping. And then the fighting, the gang violence turned into the dancing. So at that time in the 70s in New York, they would show movies. They would have movie theaters. There would be the dark, vulgar ones, and then there would be the martial art ones. So they would get all the Shaolin Kung Fu, the Shaw Brother movies. Once a week, they would go to watch these Kung Fu movies and they would put them in the dance. So when I was growing up, my dad was into these movies, but he knew nothing about hip hop. And I would watch these movies. And then I saw Breakdance, the movie in like the mid 80s, 88 or something like this. And the things kind of just merged together. So when I learned breakdancing, I always wanted to do Shaolin martial arts. So this was the closest I could get to it until I found out that the Shaolin Temple moved down the road to my house in Tufnell Park. And I was like, where have you been? Oh my God, you've been here since like the late 90s. I've just discovered you now. It's like, I've got to make up for lost time, you know? And then I became like a dedicated student for a while. But you know, life has throws you so many curveballs, throws you so many lemons, and you just have to kind of pick up the pieces and do what you can as much as you can with what you love, and do what, you know, excites you, and you have to follow your passion. And that's what I did.
Do you consider Shaolin martial arts also as a part of Zen?
I think so. I would. I think you could consider, because Kung Fu ultimately means hard work, right?
Yes.
So hard work and dedication, perfecting your craft. I think that in that, whether you know, even in science, even in law, even in medicine, there's elements of Zen, because there is that focused mind and that open mind to develop your own skill, to heal, to share, you know. So definitely with Kung Fu, without doubt, in Shaolin style, they got Chan Buddhism as their major doctrine and philosophy, which is a form of Zen Buddhism. So yeah, it definitely is a form of Zen.
Yeah, when I learned about well, this is not 100% sure truth, but it said that the Bodhidharma was the one created the Yi Jin Jin, the Shaolin.
Oh yeah. I knew Bodhidharma came from India to show the monks in China
Mhm.
exercises, and that turned into Shaolin Kung Fu. But I didn't know it was the Yi Jin Jin. Ah,
Yes,
no way. Ah,
said
amazing.
to be created by Bodhidharma, who is the father of the Zen. So
Ah,
I thought that was cool. So it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
Definitely.
And
And again, it's the crossing of the cultures,
mhm,
you know?
mhm, mhm, mhm. And because we are both Shifu Yande's student, I can say, and my first guest was Norbert, and he's also was in our group too.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. And it, like Shikuyande always said, when you are in a training, you have this empty space. You don't think anything and you just do it. Like, yeah. So to me, hard training can be also reaching into this peacefulness.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. It's like the effort for no effort. It's like the contradiction, you know, it's the yin and yang. Um, we live in a very opposing, what's it, paradox
Thank
reality. So
you. Thank
to
you. Thank
embrace
you.
that, I think, is the Zen philosophy.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's one of my big reason I started, even though I don't know how many people's gonna watch this, but
Yeah,
I have to do what I can do to create some more harmonious world. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Follow
mhm.
your passion, follow what gets you excited. It's the, you know, everybody's looking for like a higher purpose or value, but you have to just do it regardless of the outcome. You know, if you feel it, it's that's why you have to do it.
Mhm. So if you look back, now you are a producer too.
Yeah,
um, Probably like you can say after all these experience of like doing the break dance and studied too as a musician and oh you are into jazz too, I heard.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So do you play jazz also?
I don't personally, but most of my friends do. They're jazz musicians. I got into it just after around the breakdancing because the breakdancing kind of I was too old. I got into it very, very late. I got into it when I was like 19, 20, 21.
That's
So I did
late.
that for like nearly 10 years. And then I, you know, had injuries and I was getting older and all these young kids were learning faster and doing much more dynamic, amazing stuff. But I still did it. I still taught and everything. And I've had injuries. I broke my wrist. So I
Oh,
kind of put that on the back burner. And then I met a friend who was really into jazz and he would always frequent at Ronnie Scott's. It took me a long time. And Ronnie Scott's is one of the most influential jazz clubs in London, if not in Europe. And he basically grew up in that club and he knew everything about jazz. So we hit it off. We were at a place, Charlie Wright's on a Thursday night, long time ago, many moons and many suns ago. And we would go there for music and food late night on a Thursday, about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And we didn't really speak to each other. We would just say words from songs. And then it came to like a James Brown song. And it was like, oh, you know this line. Oh, you know, you give it up and turn it loose. Da, da, da. And then it was just like, oh, we're into the same music. You know, we come from like James Brown was like we used to dance to James Brown all the time because his music is very synonymous with hip hop and funk and the breaks and his chants and calls and response. He's like bringing the tribe together all the time,
mhm.
and he knew this friend, my friend of mine, knew a lot about James Brown, and he had a gig in Ronnie Scott's. So we would hang out, and he would teach us, me and my friends, about jazz music. So we didn't have to, because jazz music seemed very, like, you know, you couldn't understand it. It was like very difficult to understand because it's like more sophisticated, and it's like, what are they doing? You know, the singing, the scatting. It's like, oh, it's a bit too weird, and you couldn't. It wasn't familiar, and it was hard to kind of approach. But
Mhm.
we learned about Sarah Vaughan, Betty Carter, Oscar Peterson, you know, all the famous composers, Duke Ellington. And he showed me James Brown, another side of James Brown, which was James Brown's ballads. And James Brown did a whole many albums of ballad songs, not just the ones, you know, like Living in America or It's a Man's World. It's like he showed me another side of the music, and through that interaction we grew a community of friends and family that play music. And there's now a lot of guys that have, you know, got their own albums, got their own bands, and they're all band leaders, and it's amazing to see. And the music is great language as well. It really speaks the language of the soul, which I think again is a very Zen thing.
So you have so many great, unique experiences, very special experiences. What do you say? What's the most significant event or experience?
It's the most significant event or experience. I think hardship. I think finding yourself, going through. I went through a lot of self-destructive times at certain points. You know, staying out late, gambling, drinking too much, doing all these vices, and then having that experience and really finding out that you're hurting the people around you, and then coming back from that and realizing that you've got something special and you don't want to lose that. That I think is a very unique experience. And I got into a lot of philosophy.
Unlock the code and hack into the power of 1,000 old souls. Reach up, reach up, reach up to the sky. Hold your head high, it's life or living death. We gotta try to live our best until the time comes around. We cannot rest. Reach up, reach up, reach up to the sky. Hold your head high, it's life or living death. We gotta try